can see that the chat is going. People are joining. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your Saturday to be here. I know that it's a long weekend and you don't usually want to spend your long weekend like working or learning or studying. But I really do appreciate everybody that has taken the time to be here today, especially our speakers. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So as while we wait for more people to join, I just want to let everyone else know that's on the call that I was just telling the ladies that all three of them were part of the first season of She Brigade. I think, Mathebe, you were like actually the third guest to ever be on She Brigade. So it's just so amazing to see it all come full circle. Started with the first season in 2019, and now we're here with the first event for She Brigade with all three of you. And so much has changed since then, which I also think is so important to note that so much has changed. Togo, when I spoke to you, you had one baby, Nilotiqa, and now you have two.
I don't know what I'm trying to do.
Right? And Jabu, when I spoke to you, you were still in corporate. And Siko had just launched. I remember you touched very lightly on Siko during our interview, but you were running in good company. Siko had just started, and now you are not even in corporate anymore, fully running two businesses. That's insane. Mathebe, when we last spoke, you had Beauty on Tap. Forbes was shouting you out, hey. and now your company owns another company. That is insane. So we've really come a long way, and I'm so excited to get into the conversation. Good morning to everyone that's joining us on the call. I'm so happy to have all of you here. So I think we can actually just get started. I'd like to just go around the room and have everyone introduce themselves. Who are you? What do you do? And also, why do you do what you do? So we'll start with Jabu. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jabulile Gwala, and I am the CEO and founder of a company called Black Lion. We have, different brands under our stable, and our first one is a locally manufactured athleisure wear brand, which is Nguni print inspired, called Siko Republik. It launched in 2018, and it has been a beautiful labor of love. And the second one is a publishing house that focuses on women and youth empowerment, called In Good Company. And we've recently just launched a communication and marketing strategy kind of house within the business that focuses on, supporting small businesses.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Mathebe, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mathebe Molise. And I own a company called Beauty on Tap, which is a marketplace for beauty products and self-care products. And we recently launched a skincare brand called Pastry Skincare, which is, for now, we're focused on retailing body products, so body creams that have active ingredients in them, like niacinamide and hyaluronic acid and so on. And I also have a full-time job. I work as the executive assistant to the CEO of one of the investment banks. I don't like mentioning which one, but that's me in a nutshell.
Sure. Togo, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Thokozile Mangwiro, and I'm the founder and CEO of Nilotiqa Hair Care, and recently the COO of Boxed Water, which is a brand new brand that we've just put into the market around giving alternative to bottled water, because we know the damaging impact of what bottled water has had on the world. And so beyond just entrepreneurship, I'm a mom of two boys that are really, really full of energy. I'm a sister, a daughter, a wife, so a very busybody. But more than anything, I think I'm a quite creative person who hope shows her creativity through the brands that she presents to the market.
Thank you so much. Okay, so before we jump into really what we're here to discuss today, I just want to let everybody that's here, if you have any questions as the conversation progresses, there is an ask a question box. It should be at the bottom of your screen. Please pop any questions you have for any of our speakers in there, any or all of our speakers, and please keep the conversation going in the chat. And okay, let's dive right into it. So, you know, the reason why we wanted to have this conversation today is really because a lot of us either have side hustles or have thought of starting a business venture at some point. Some people that are joining us today might even already have ventures, and they just want to learn more or learn from others who are in the space as well. So that's really why, you know, I've brought these amazing 3 women today to just talk to us about their experience as entrepreneurs in South Africa during the pandemic as well. I think that's a big thing that we do need to talk about. So that's really the objective of today's session, to just get all the insights that we can from our lovely speakers. So I'm going to dive right in with probably the biggest question. I think we must just kick it off with a bang. I'd like you ladies to just let us all know, what is a big lesson that you have learned as a result of the pandemic that you may not have otherwise learned, or that would have taken potentially a bit longer for you to learn? Togo, you can kick us off.
I think there's lessons every day, but I think the biggest one is to move quickly. So within the pandemic, when it started, we actually didn't know what was happening or what was going to happen. And one thing that we focused on was not stopping. There's a lot of businesses that had to shut down and move back into, let's say, they safe modes. We went full steam ahead. We didn't stop. We continued delivering. There was a point where delivery companies were saying they're not delivering anymore, and we insisted. So one thing that we learned is that persistence, that perseverance to just continue. So we moved quickly. I think that was one of the most important things we did. And had the pandemic not really happened, we wouldn't have just pushed through, and eventually ended up expanding the business into different retails.
Mathebe, what is your lesson that you've learned?
I think the biggest lesson for me is stick to your guns and believe in what you're doing. I think before the pandemic, it's like, you know, we were pushing Beauty on Tap and really trying to grow it. And you know, it was growing, but not at the rate that grown over the past year. And I always just look back and say, I really stuck to what I wanted to do. I stuck to the vision of the business, and it actually turned out quite well. And I know for some people, when you know your business is just kind of like chugging along slowly, and somebody just says, you know, believe in what you're doing, it seems crazy, but you know, it took a pandemic, something that we never ever thought would ever happen, to push the business and really grow it. So there's always some kind of divine intervention or something that will just really kind of spearhead your vision and actually just make it bigger than you could ever imagine. So just sticking to your guns is really important, and to your vision.
100%. Jabulile, what has been your biggest lesson?
So for me, I kind of put agility as one of them. So I agree completely with the ladies and what they've said. But for me, it was just learning to be agile. I mean, I remember when the pandemic started, we had just opened a pop-up store at the Mall of Africa. And my God, you know, we had to kind of very quickly decide what are we going to do next, you know. So definitely one, being agile and saying that, okay, the end goal is still this, but now I need to be a little bit more flexible in how I get to the end goal. And then the second part was just learning kind of building strong relationships with my suppliers, because you can imagine, you know, we are in production, so we sell gym wear. Our demand increased. And if my partners were on a stance of, well, we are not working, it's a pandemic, then I can't get things out. So I think for me, that learning that I'm going to take going forward as well, to say, just always understanding what they are trying to do, where they're wanting to take their business, and how does that affect my business, especially because I rely on them for other things. So that was for me a big learning. And the pandemic was a blessing and a curse. Some of us, because of it, we were forced into the digital space and the digital world, and that helped kind of grow our businesses as well.
Yeah, there's definitely always two sides to the coin, and with all the good, there will be some bad that comes along with it. So we often talk about or hear about business plans. I want to know if any of you ladies had a business plan starting out your businesses. Do you think it's important? And if you did have one, what about it? What's the most important part? What's the most important part of the business plan that you think everyone should focus on? So, Mathebe, we'll start with you this time. No pressure.
Growing up, my parents used to always together the business plans, and I'd read through them, and I'd just think, oh my gosh, this is so detailed, and it takes so long to kind of like, it will take them so long to get the business going. So, I mean, when I started Beauty on Tap, it was an app. They just asked us to write up a description of what the app must do. So I didn't have like a detailed business plan on, okay, we're starting an app. Here's a model on how we're going to generate revenue. This is our target market, and so on. So I completely didn't have that on hand. To be honest, I kind of just winged the whole business. And kind of like pivoted, as it went along. Like I had a vision, I knew what I wanted to do, and I kind of just wrote up, processes, controls, and targets and modeling as the business kind of like started to come alive. That's when I started to really get insight into how this has to work operationally. So for me, our business plan is like a work in progress. I have various documents that outline various, processes and so on. And so I kind of like did what people do in reverse. So I'm busy writing my business plan as the business goes along. And that people always ask, why haven't you asked for funding yet? And I always say that, it's only now that I truly see what I want to do. And now I can clearly articulate where I want the business to go. So I've kind of written it as the business has gone along. And it's different for everyone. I mean, for some people or some businesses, a business plan is required. But I just felt for Beauty on Tap, it wasn't required at the time. And as I say, it's just a work in progress, and we're putting it together every day.
Thokozile, what has your experience been with business plans?
Just trying to remember back, we didn't start off with a business plan. We focused on testing the market. So we created the product, and then we put it out there, and we go to markets, and we stand and communicate with the customer first to understand the space we wanted to play in the first place. And a business plan is a great document. So even if we had something kind of showcasing what we wanted to do, it wasn't really the typical business plan that you have. It only came up maybe 2 years later when we were starting to look for funding. And even when you submit your business plans for funding, they need to grow according to what the funder wants to hear. So it took us a long time to get to a full business plan. And like Mathebe says, as you grow the business, more things happen in between, more opportunities present themselves. And so you tend to add to the document until it's a full document. I mean, ours is still growing till today, So my idea of a business plan is not the first port of call. I think there's a lot more to do before you create one, but eventually you get to a full-fledged business plan that kind of directs you. And it shouldn't be such a stagnating document. You need to be flexible within your business plan as well. So it'll guide you, it'll show the vision, your mission, all of that. But just like in a pandemic, you need to pivot, you need to be agile. And so that business plan needs to be just as agile and able to pivot the same way.
Definitely. It's a living document that grows with your business. Yes. Jabulile, what has your experience been with the business plan?
Yeah, sorry guys, I lost connectivity for a second.
Yes, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, But also, I mean, I'll say the same thing as like in the beginning, I actually didn't have a plan. I just saw that there was a gap in the market. I used to love exercising, and I thought, look, I haven't seen anything that has our African print, and I'm just going to start. I remember firstly, researching and going on Google and saying business plan and seeing this document that was like, oh my God. And I just said, no, actually, I'm just going to do a plan on a page. Like, what am I trying to do? Who am I trying to sell to? And do I really believe that there is space for this thing? And I can say that, for me, depending on where your business is at and what you need from your business plan, it then evolves with you. So yes, now from where I am, 3 years in, where we are now looking for funding and we are looking to expand, and other people need certain information beyond just, okay, you've got a great idea. I would say for me, some of the things that I have found to always be kind of asked in the process is just the business description itself. Like, what are you trying to do? The vision and mission. How are you going to do it? Is there a market for it? So market analysis is very, very critical. Being able to be clear on who are your competitors, and I mean, when I started, I was like, so who am I competing with? Am I competing with Nike and Ivy Park? No, I have local brands that I need to kind of focus on. And who are they? What are they doing? What are their products looking like? What are they providing? Why are people buying, way and things like that. And then financials, which was my worst, because I'm a creative. I don't like spreadsheets, but that part is also really, really critical. Like, do you have a business or not? Are you making money? And then, it allows you to have different conversations with different people and get different help at different points of your business journey.
100%. So I think what we're learning here is that, do you need a fully decked out business plan when you start? No, but you need to have an idea of what you're selling, who you're selling it to. Like Jabulile said, you just said now your competitors, and most importantly, you need to grow this business plan or this outline of your business as you test the market, get a feel of what's working, what's not working. And I think something else that's important that Mathebe, you mentioned as well, was it's also specific to funding. It's important when you're going to look for funding to have this set out. That's what people are looking at as the kind of map of what are you actually doing here. So, okay, so Togo, I have a specific question for you. So Nilotiqa is everywhere. It's in Pick and Pay. It's in Pick and Pay. It's at Clicks. And now even with your new company, Boxed Water, that's also available at Pick and Pay. I can imagine that moving into retailers can be very difficult. And it requires you to scale quite largely because you need inventory, you need all of these things that will sustain the supply to all of these retailers. So tell us about what you found challenging about scaling and creating a business that is so sustainable that you can continuously supply these retailers that you've gone into.
So I found scaling very difficult. You want to be available everywhere, but you need to consider what goes into just creation of a product to be able to get into the retail spaces. And it took quite a while to scale. It looks like it's all of a sudden, but in the back end, it takes about 2 years to get into the retail space, well, in our experience. And so when we're just available at Clicks, we had somewhat of a small team, and something we could easily manage because one retailer functions specifically a certain way. And so that, as difficult as Clicks was easily manageable. And then we went into Pick and Pay and Dis-Chem, and it's a totally different space to work in. The different retailers function differently. So it's not just about creating more product, but getting into their processes, understanding the processing, connecting with the right people within those spaces. And I can tell you till today, I don't know if I've got the right people in Pick and Pay or not, but it's just such a huge learning curve every time you try and expand yourself. The one thing that we did focus on, though, So we focused on one thing instead of trying to do everything at once, was the delivery, making sure that the product that you get an order for gets delivered to that retail space, making sure that you're on shelf as you promised you would be. When you're talking to your buyers, you're telling them how you can produce, you can provide, and the one thing was then the focus on delivery. And then on our back end, the team is quite small, but we move pretty quickly. So one of the good things is that as small as we are, we're able to move quite quickly. If we need to expand the team, we expand it quickly. If we need to scale back, we do that pretty quickly. And I think that's helped us a lot in terms of getting the product to the retailer. Yeah, but a lot more happens between just servicing one retailer and then having to expand yourself to 3, 4, and managing all the environments. One of the conversations that came up, by the way, was that retail was not built for small businesses. And that's what they're trying to fix now. So they almost reverse engineering their own processes to say, how do you cater to a small Toko business who's trying to put this small product in without the muscle to get to function like a L'Oreal, or how Unilever would have products all over the store. We are only on one shelf, say, and we still need to perform quite similarly to who we're competing against because we've got a market to service. So all those things come into play, and they do admit that they haven't created retail, or retail maybe grew, but didn't grow to cater to a smaller segment of the market or smaller businesses.
Wow, what interesting insights. And so, Mathebe, you are on the other sort of end of this, where you are essentially like a retailer. You now talk to people, the small business people, and they maybe big business as well. I mean, not just say small business, but like you have people that come to you and want to stock their products on your virtual shelves, because obviously you are a digital business. Tell me, how do you go about collaborating and figuring out like that collaboration between you and someone who owns a product, getting them on? How do you go about that? What advice do you have for someone who wants to also sell products, not necessarily manufacture their own products, but sell products? What advice do you have for someone who is looking to get into that type of space?
So I think the first thing is I always approach brands with humility, even if it's like the smallest brand ever. I don't, kind of like say, we're Beauty on Tap and we want to have your product, give us now. We kind of have like a presentation deck that we put together, and we kind of put slides together specifically for the brand, telling them how we can add value to their brand. So even somebody who's selling shea butter that's attractive to us will put together a presentation and say, hey, this is why we believe that we're a good fit for your brand. And that's us pitching to brands. And I mean, we pitch to brands, I watch everything. I sit on Instagram, I watch YouTube reviews, I look at other retailers and what they're selling, and I say, okay, this brand is a good fit. So it requires like a lot of work and detail to find brands. And I just feel like we're not seeing as many beauty brands come up in South Africa as we did before. And I just wish that we had a lot more coming to the market, because there's kind of like a stagnation right now. And we're like really kind of like, crawling and trying to find, brands to put onto the website. I saw Sephora has, I think, 315 brands. And I think we have 50 plus now. And just like we have to get to 300 somehow. And I'm just saying, I wish more SA or local brands can come online, because I think for a while we started listing too many international brands, and I just wanted to take a step back to local. And then also get approached by brands, big and small. I mean, we have L'Oreal's coming to us and saying they want to list on our website. And, as Toko said, when you're dealing with big brands, there's just so many processes that you have to go through. Sometimes you're just like, oh, is it worth it? I don't know. But it's just such intricate, detailed processes. They do checks. And you're kind of like, oh my gosh, you came to me. Why do I have to do all this stuff? But, you just go with each provider differently. Sorry, guys. have the worst sinuses. It's, other smaller brands, it's just much easier to onboard them. I mean, we have Dermopil on our website, which is like really popular, but it took months of negotiating with them and proving to them that we are a good fit for your business. So it's just like approaching brands with humility, showing how you can add value, like how am I adding value to your brand? You know, I deliver to customers fast. I educate customers about your brand and products and ingredients. You know, how does Beauty on Tap differentiate itself from other retailers? And when brands approach us, you know, we all want to know how you're going to add value to Beauty on Tap. Like, what is your brand, you know, proposition? Is it your ingredients? Is it your, you know, your packaging? You know, is it how you speak to your consumers? So kind of like a lot of things that we look at, but those are probably the main ones that we analyze.
Okay, so by the way, I think it's quite interesting that you mentioned that, because I know there's a lot of, should I say, hype about Dermopil, and it's sold out often on your site. So it's interesting that we would, from the outside looking in, think it was an obvious fit, but it took quite a lot of work in the back end to get to this point.
Also, I think like Dr. Anteta is very old school. It's just like, what's this digital platform? And, you know, and you kind of have to like convince them, like, this is what we do, we're cool. And, you know, it actually took speaking to his daughters, who are my age, to get it onto the website. So it's not easy. It's even just touching base with people on a personal level and saying, you know, hey, with his daughters and his kids, and they actually sold the Beauty on Tap proposition to him, and he signed off. So it's a lot of wheeling and dealing in the background, but we get it done at the end of the day.
That definitely ties back to what Togo said about having, it's about the people that you're talking to. So whether you're trying to get your product into a store or whether you're trying to get a product onto your store, it's about who are you talking to. It's the people, it's the relationships. So I want to move a little bit to something different. Jabu, your brand is highly identifiable. Like highly identifiable. I can see someone over there and I'll be like, that's Jabu's brand. But with that, I'm talking about Siko Republik, by the way. But with that, surely comes the issue of having people potentially copy you. And your product because it's so identifiable, people, it may be easy to replicate. So can you tell us about the importance of IP, of protecting your IP, or just your branding, your design, your pattern, and what that process has been like for you? What should entrepreneurs that are looking to get into entrepreneurship based on a design be looking out for?
Okay. So firstly, I think when you look at the market and you kind of learn from the guys that were there before you, so I looked at the journey that Maxhosa had to travel as an example when that whole Maxhosa Zara thing happened. You know, I've looked at beautiful brands like Fabricans fight for their print on a regular basis. So very early on, when I started Siko Republik, I knew. So, I mean, as much as you trademark your brand name and your logo, you have to trademark your pattern. And it doesn't, by the way, mean they're not going to copy it. Not at all. I mean, they copied Maxhosa. So I guess for me, it was firstly just making myself aware of what it is that I'm entering into, and then finding the right legal places to find out, how do I trademark this? You know, what's the difference between just trademarking the name, trademarking the logo, trademarking the pattern? And the pattern it's tough, because a lot of the heritage stuff that we do is, you know, it's sourced from what we've seen. So you have to kind of prove as well how you have changed the pattern, and it's not, you're not taking someone else's work and you are now saying, oh, you know, it's Nguni print. How have you made sure that this is yours? You've created this from scratch, and then you start the process, and it takes years. So as long as you've started, it takes years before it is fully registered and you can say, you know, or whatever the case may be. But for me, I would say start very early, before your brand is popular, before now everyone has an interest in it. start that process early, because litigation is really, really tough. So you don't want to be fighting with people and taking them to court later on. So register, trust that your brand is actually going to be worth something. I mean, one of the ladies said it earlier, that, you know, when you're starting in the beginning and it's moving slowly, you're like, is this thing ever going to take off? And then you don't do some of the things that you need to do. And something like a trademark, if you are patent based, because you're thinking, it's just a small brand, then later on you blow up and you're not protected. And the suppliers that you are using have your patent. Because someone has to print that pattern into a fabric, so they've got it. The people that do some of your marketing have your pattern, because they have to create all these collaterals. So all of these things you don't think about, but it's important because it is your IP. The person who did the pattern for you, or whoever you worked with, if you are not a graphic designer yourself, what contract do you have with them? Because then you are, now, a Siko Republic, and now they're like, hey, I thought I didn't charge you enough. When I saw you 5 years ago, I said this amount. So just make sure that you protect the full value chain before you share your pattern with anybody else. Like I'm very particular as to who gets the pattern, what do they sign before they actually receive it. And you're going to work with different service providers. The next thing, you stop working with someone because you found someone else who does something better, whether it's the jackets better or the tracksuits better, but that person still has your pattern. And you don't know who they might share it with, and you don't know what they might do with it. So just make sure right in the beginning, you protect yourself. And even, silly things like before you send, your information to somebody, do an NDA, say that I will give you this information, given that within these parameters, you can use it. Outside of that, you can't. Just so that later on, if you need to, you are just protected.
And I think it's also what you're saying is so important, because often, when you're starting out as a business or as an entrepreneur, it's costly. That process is costly, but it actually saves you so much more in the long run, rather than, like you say, you start small, you don't protect yourself. All of a sudden you blow up, and now you're trying to protect yourself. You might find that somebody else may have actually overtaken you and patented your product without you even knowing, trademarked it. Yeah. So it's definitely an investment.
And now you have to ask them for permission to use your own pattern.
For permission to use your own pattern. Can you imagine that? No. Yeah. So, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So ladies, I want to ask all of you, what role has social media played in your business? And what do you think is the best way to leverage social media? I'll just start with Mathebe, because Mathebe, your brand voice is so unique, right? When you log on and you see Beauty on Tap, it's like my girl is talking. I'm chatting with my girl, and I've seen the way that audiences also your audience responds to you. Like, it's such an easy conversation. It does not feel like you're buying from a business. It feels like you're literally just going to your friend's closet. Hey, can I borrow something? When you're shopping or interacting with Beauty on Tap online. How did you firstly discover your brand voice, and how do you maintain it? Because if it's not you behind the keyboard, how are you maintaining that same brand voice throughout your business?
So, I mean, when people, when you're doing your branding and you're building together like your brand, there are, what is she like? Like, what kind of woman is Beauty on Tap? And, we always say she's ambitious, she's feisty, she's the girl that you want to talk to and have a coffee with. And so we've kind of defined Beauty on Tap as this woman. And that's who she is. She's feisty, she's cool, she's friendly. You want to have a coffee with her or a drink with her. And that's how we engage with our audience, and how we just keep the voice like super consistent. And she's a nice girl, she wants to share information. So we've identified that voice as a person. And because we've made her a person, it's just much easier then to interact with people. And of course, our customer base is Black female. And so we need to know how to talk to our largest audience. And I mean, people DM or write comments or tweet us and say, hey, sweetie, or hey, sis, or hey, love. And I just think it's so weird. They're calling this company Hey, Sweetie. But it's like when people interact with Beauty on Tap, they see this woman. And we just have such an amazing community. And, you know, when you see community-built brands, I always look at international brands, the big ones, and it's kind of like the same model, you know, when they talk to their customers as a friend. And so I think if you kind of like want to build a brand, build it around a community. Your community will always support you. Even if you make a mistake, you know, they understand. They're like, girl, we're all human. They'll even say to Beauty on Tap, you're human as well. Like, no, we're just a digital company. You're all human, we make mistakes. And so just, you know, defining it and just staying true to who your brand voice is so important, and don't veer away from it. And I mean, there are times when you want to like post something and you just, you know, you're just like, this is not aligned to what we do, just remove it. People always try to collaborate with Beauty on Tap, and I'm just like, I don't know, I don't think it's aligned. So you just have to, you know, safeguard that girl and make sure that she just stays consistent as the person that you've defined her to be.
That's so interesting, because when we talk about branding and marketing, we've heard often about defining your audience in that way. So as defining that persona for your audience, but you're saying now that you defined your business as in a persona, it's a person. Here's how she speaks. Here's how she acts. Here's where she goes. Here's what she likes and doesn't like. So that's an interesting approach to take to market, to branding your business. And what advice do you have for just somebody who wants to leverage social media? How has social media really helped you grow your business? And what advice do you have for someone to leverage social media for their business?
So, I mean, these days, no one logs onto social media just to like look at like pretty things. I think the brands that really, really like win social media is brands that teach people the value of their products. So if you're launching something, you have to show something, especially like in a world where there's a pandemic, people want to see value. You need to add value to people's lives. So, you know, show people that, you know, I'm selling skincare and that's very, you know, vain and whatever, but tell them that, you know, this is a product, educate people about it. This is a product, it does this, it can change your skin like this. So if you're going to start a business account, don't just post beautiful gowns, you know, show people what value you're adding to their lives. Add a voice to your brand, as I said, define who he or she is or it is, and choose the right social media platform for your brand. Not all businesses need Instagram, you know, if you're not selling something that's visual, and you're selling something that's more educational, and, you know, you just need to understand the product you're selling to leverage the audience. So I find Twitter is a lot more, you can, you know, tweet information and it's a lot more informative. And when you have beauty, you have to sell the science behind it. So it's so much easier to do on Twitter because people don't read captions on Instagram. They want to look at a beautiful picture. So you just need to also define which social media platform works for your kind of business. Even if it's Facebook, Facebook is very like great for like community built brands as well. So just add value to people's lives, like understanding why you're posting something. Don't just post something because it looks cool. A post that we post on Beauty on Tap has like a reason behind it. So we're posting hair today because we know tomorrow people are washing their hair, or we're posting face masks because people wind down on Sundays. So we'll tell people this is why a face mask is great for your self-care and why this one in particular is good for you today. And choose the right platform for your brand. Not all social media platforms will work for your brand, so just choose the right one.
Jabulile, how have you leveraged social media for your brand?
Sure. So I completely agree with everything that Mathebe said. I was like taking notes. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But for us, I mean, firstly, it is true that not all social media platforms are for you. As an example, Facebook is a no-go for us. We are, because of the print and gym and reels and videos and Insta stories. We are such an Instagram brand. And we use Twitter for events. So when we have a boot camp and we have this, then we have, interaction, which is live. And we found that works much better for us. And then also influencer partnerships. So using influencers' digital platforms has worked significantly for us because one, activewear, a lot of people just, firstly, they want to be sure that this is good quality. And then two, they just don't understand, like, how is it going to fit me? It's locally made. So I don't know if, it's, the same way as what I'm used to. So we've used and partnered with influencers so that they can create videos and post and show, how the quality of our products actually is. So that has been great. And partnering with influencers as well, because we are a small brand, we don't have the luxury of TV. And thank God, like now for me, social media has been that outlet for us that if without the budget to go on TV for people to see your brand, now people can just go on social media and they come across you. You can promote it. They can engage. They can have conversations with you. So for me, it has been a key and quite a critical part of our marketing strategy and part of our growth in getting us to where we are today.
Togo, how has social media what role has it played in your business?
We've had a very interesting journey when it comes to social media. And I was listening to Mathebe talk about the voice of the brand and the consistency of that voice. It's so important, right, for your customer, your community. And I think it builds a lot of trust. So what we've experienced is that when the voice is internal, meaning a team member inside runs campaigns, we have consistency, but when we step out of that realm and we try and engage with other people, we tend to have some sort of clash. So you have to be very careful in how you interact with your customer through social media. You need to sound like the very same person you started off with, or the person you defined your brand to be, person. What we've then focused on is educating the customer. So as much fun as you want to have with your customer, they want to trust the brand. They want to believe in what you're saying. Some people are coming on as new customers. They've never interacted with a Nilotiqa or boxed water before. And we're quite aware of how we are viewed externally. And as Jabulile says, when you don't have the luxury of television and budgets for campaigns, big campaigns, social media is a great place to start and to market yourself, really. So yeah, we've had a very interesting journey. Sometimes you can see us trying to step out of that realm and you get instant impact. The great thing is that you've got your customer walking with you or your community walking with you, and they will nudge you and be like, what are you guys doing? So you kind of step back. But I think focusing on education is the best thing we've done. Just teaching the customer how to use the product, adding value to what how they use the product. And we get a lot of questions about issues around their hair, how they are supposed to use the product. And so it's been an engaging platform. But as the ladies say, you have to be quite careful in how you communicate the brand to your customer.
Thank you all so much for sharing that. I think social media is one of those things that we can't avoid in today's day and age. So I think it's important, like you've all mentioned, it's important how you speak to your customer, which social media platform you're on as well. So just something for everyone to just keep at the back of their heads. So as I mentioned, all of you now have 2 businesses at a minimum that we know of. I don't know if maybe you're all cooking something underneath or what, but you never know. But at least of what we know, each of you ladies here today have at least 2 businesses, right? I'd like to know from each of you, what has the difference been between the first business, launching the first business, and launching the second business? And Jabulile, I'll start with you because your businesses differ in that one is service-based, one is product-based. So what have the differences there been?
Okay. So the first business, In Good Company, was launched in 2014, and it is service-based, and it was literally around the need to say, while I was in corporate, we need spaces, for women empowerment. We need spaces to put, women in one room and have real conversations, around what we're going through, what challenges we are facing. Especially because I worked for a big multinational, and as females, we were just, there was a lot of issues. And I mean, I think I did say this the first time I spoke to you. For me, what really led me to do something in that space was when one of our grads said, I don't ever want to be a VP, in this business. Because I mean, I see how miserable the female VPs are. There's so much that you have to sacrifice in order for you to get there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I hope, we can do better. So I started, the service-based company, IGC. And as you grow with it over time, so service-based kind of takes in a lot of energy, because most of the time it needs you part of the setting up of the eventing, you're part of the mentorship and the coaching sessions, which is great, and then you just evolve over time and bring in other people. And you've seen it. I collaborate a lot, with other platforms, because I've actually realized that it doesn't have to be something that is like on its own. And launching that brand was much easier because it didn't firstly require a lot of capital in the beginning. I didn't have to leave work. I could do it while I was still working, and I didn't have to raise all of this money to actually do what I was doing. Siko Republik was different. I was now getting into manufacturing. I knew nothing about manufacturing. I've always been passionate about fashion, but finding the right manufacturers locally to do what we do. Because in the beginning, I was very clear that the vision is to not go to China and buy tights and come sell them. I wanted to produce it here, and I wanted to kind of be part of the job creation locally as well. So that process was completely different, and, sometimes it is emotionally draining, but you have to kind of stick to your guns and trust the fact that your vision is valid, and you started the company for a reason. Finding the manufacturer and then dealing with minimum order quantities is the other thing that then became a reality, because then now you need actual capital, and the people that can make the tights and the crop tops at the quality that you need you to buy a minimum of 200 at a time. And you're like, oh my gosh, no one even knows what this brand is. When am I gonna even sell out 200 leggings? But you then get into your savings and you start looking for investors and things like that. So the two businesses for me were completely different in how they launched. IGC was so much simpler because I was, in service, you're selling your time, you're selling your knowledge, versus then going into Siko Republik, which was a whole other thing.
Yeah, no, that's those are, you can't. It's even hard to draw the parallels there to say,
Yeah.
I did this, then I'll do it this way now, because it's just completely different playing fields altogether.
Yeah.
Togo, what has been the difference for you with launching Nilotiqa versus Box Daughter?
Worlds apart. Oh
Also,
my gosh. So different. And it's from all the learnings from Nilotiqa, because both are products, both are in retail, and I'm going to keep it on a retail level, but worlds apart. You had a Nilotiqa that started off on selling online, on a website, being on social media. You just take photos and just kind of post them, and you just try and attract the customer, and you try and make as much noise as possible. And you get into retail and you don't understand the nitty-gritties that go into making sure that product gets off the shelf. So the idea is that you put a product in and you get it off the shelf. And I just don't think I comprehended that when we started. And so when we're launching Box Water, it's a totally different world where you come in with a plan. and you know what you're doing in 2 months, and you know what you're doing in 4 months, and you've got that all planned out, you are communicating with your buyers, you know what you're doing above the line, through the line marketing, you actually have a much more planned way of implementing versus an Nilotiqa where you're just throwing everything at it to just make sure that it worked. So I think it's a much easier journey with box water. It took a lot shorter to get it on the store, in store. So it took it took maybe 3 months to get it into Pick and Pay. And that's because the learnings of Nilotiqa or the compliance that we already had within the retail space got us onto the shelves much quicker than how long it took with Nilotiqa.
Oh, wow. Mathebe, what has been the difference for you with Beauty on Tap versus an actual product that you're now selling? And you sell it, your business sells your other business. What has been the difference there? Exclusively, yes.
Exclusive to Beauty on Tap. No, I think Beauty on Tap was, so Beauty on Tap is a digital business, and I'm not a coder, so you outsource that. And I think probably the hardest thing with Beauty on Tap would probably be onboarding brands. So it's a very automated business, and it's only getting interest now because of volumes, and we have to engage with customers and tracking details and so on. So it's only now that Beauty on Tap is really becoming really complex, and we have to start building the team to handle various roles and facets of the business. But Beauty on Tap was very automated, and I always used to judge, I was like, why can't you just get products to us on time? And now I'm on the other side of it. So now, I always say to friends, I respect you guys. This is such a difficult process. So pastry the formulation is outsourced and manufacturing is outsourced. But then from a formulation perspective, I have the ideas. I say, let's do a cream that does this, and, let's make it this color and so on. So, I kind of put together like a vision in my mind about the product, and I send it off to the formulators, and then there's a back and forth iteration on it good enough, is the texture right, oh my gosh, it's so much work. And then, you have to talk to packaging people and branding, and, I want to scream. So we're launching a new product now, and things are just waiting for me. I have a to-do list. And then, from the formulators, once the product is right, you have to send it to the manufacturers, and they have to send you samples to make sure that, the texture's right, and whatever, product or raw materials they're using are producing the same kind of texture and product. Then there's back and forth with them. And then you have to source your packaging. Then finally, it all comes together. So being on the distributor side and also on like the brand side, I now have so much respect for brands. Like the process of launching one product is just so intricate, especially if it's like skincare or hair care. If it's like a consumable that people use on their bodies, so much work goes into it.
Yeah.
And so at least I think, the work ethic and so on that I've instilled at Beauty on Tap is kind of translating into pastry, because now we're allocating team members to looking after pastry now. So I do have key learnings from Beauty on Tap into pastry, but I think I'm definitely going to get more learning from running pastry than I have from Beauty on Tap. So there's a whole lot more, involved in pastry, but, I'll kind of learn from both and be patient, hopefully.
I absolutely love how Togo and Jabu immediately started nodding like,
We are
now you know what
laughing.
it, now you know what it feels like.
Yeah, no,
Because you both have
can
products.
see that there's so much, like distribution is so automated. You can put processes in place, but you can't put processes in place to formulate a product that's in your mind, like, owning a product, a custodian of a product is so much work, so much of your mind, yourself goes into it. Whereas distribution, you just put it on the store, people order, you send it out, you're done. It's just worlds apart. So I really have a lot of respect for brand owners or product owners.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, so I want to move on to some of the questions that we received from the audience. I want to start answering. If you have more questions, please keep them coming. We're going to start answering all these questions now. So the first question that we have is, what advice do you have for someone wanting to start an online store? It's not directed at anybody in particular. Maybe Mathebe, I'd like you to answer that one.
Start firstly. Online stores, very agile. I mean, you just need somebody to build your website, and I think you need 5,000 to 10,000 rands. Make sure you have. So start firstly. That's the first thing. Make sure you have anchor brands. Anchor brands make a world of difference. So have like one brand on your website that will keep people coming there. Because when you have an anchor brand, then people kind of like start browsing. So make sure you have like a brand that people want to come to the website for. And then make sure that you plug into other digital platforms like maybe social media, Instagram shopping, Google shopping. Google shopping is like you type Siko and then it comes shopping on top. So kind of like people get a view of your product first on shopping and then it links to your website. So yeah, start first. Make sure you have an anchor brand and brands that people want to shop, and then make sure that you leverage the right digital tools to optimize your website. People can actually find it. Those are my top three.
I love that. Yes. The Google shopping one is also a good one because we don't think about that a lot. And I'm thinking about my personal experience of shopping online. I actually use that shopping tab quite a bit. I Google something and I click on that shopping tab, but we don't think of she's selling a product. Yeah, go on there. The next question that we have is, what type of marketing has driven the most sales for your business? I'm gonna ask Jabu to answer this one because Jabu, you have dressed the Miss South Africa top 10. I saw your brand on Jiva, the Netflix series. And I think I saw your brand on Gomora as well. I feel like I'm like telling everyone all the shows I watch. but like you mentioned earlier, you have influencers as well, and you're on social media. So what type of marketing has driven the most sales for your business?
So for me, the platforms that you speak of have given us a lot of sales. Jiva is an example. We have global requests now. Someone saying, I saw your thing on Jiva. I'm in London. Wow. Can you deliver to me? Because, like we said earlier, as much as social media is amazing. There's something about TV that just also gives you a whole other audience. And we just don't have the money for it. On Gomora as well, when, the onesie as an example. The first time it launched on Gomora, it was with the sexy teacher there. The onesie wasn't selling because people were just looking at it and they're like, oh, I don't know, will this thing look cute on me? As soon as they saw it, the sales started going up. With Miss Essay as well, just the people that follow Miss Essay, we get people that DM us. I want the outfit that Shuri's wearing. I want the outfit that Shuri's wearing. And you're just like, okay, cool, So I think those platforms were really, really very helpful with helping our brand in the last year. So marketing is critical. You can have the best product. But if you don't let people know about it, if you don't educate them about it, then it's just going to sit there and it's going to, make you feel like you don't have something great. But it's not that there's something wrong with your idea or your product. It's just that you haven't told people about it. So for me, I've seen a huge difference from the time we kind of still had Siko only in the beginning and it was just us, to when we then got into platforms like Miss Essay, when we got into a Jiva, because the reference comes direct, and then also the brand distinctiveness. So in Jiva, they don't say Siko anyway, but the pattern is clear. On Gomora, they don't say the word Siko Republik. I mean, there's some stuff that Tembi would wear that don't even have our logo, but because it has that print, people would then, DM us or tag us or, and then start to say, oh, I saw Siko here, and put it on their Insta stories, and we kind of would get traffic because of that. So that for me has been, very, very, marketing is critical.
Maybe just while we're on that, because the channels that you're describing are not, someone doesn't necessarily think, you may think I want to see my brand on X and X show, but I just want to know from you, what tips do you have for getting those kind of partnerships? Collaborating with a Miss
Okay.
South Africa, getting
Yeah.
on to a Java Netflix, a Netflix series. Yeah,
Okay.
what tips do you have for that?
So I would, again, what the ladies have said earlier, what value do you bring, right? So for me, I found out about an opportunity with Miss SA because I do work with Brand South Africa. So I'm a PYP ambassador. People are not, well, I'm a small brand, so no one has kind of come to me and said, oh, please, could you come dress Miss SA? The opportunity I fetched, I went and I said, there is a relationship or a partnership between Brand SA and Miss SA. Guys, you will be doing a workshop with these ladies. I would love to sponsor my outfits. And that is how I got in. And everybody who then watched, Miss SA, the team had a whole video of their workshop that they put it on their platforms. That then became free marketing for me. The lady from Gomorrah, who is the stylist, I approached her and I said, look, this is my brand. I would love to be, and I've approached other people as well, guys, that have either not responded, have not gotten back to me, or have just said, okay, thank you for the catalog. We'll take a look, we'll come back. So I don't want to also make it sound like when you go to a person, they're going to be like, oh, I love Siko, and then let me dress. Some people have just gone, oh, thanks for the information. We will call you. So I guess the message is you have to fetch it. Jiva was different because I didn't even know I was on Jiva, by the way. 2 years ago, I didn't know. 2 years ago, just right at the beginning, I think a friend of mine who was in the same MBA class with one of the stylists that was working on Jiva, he told the stylist that, oh, actually, I have a friend who is working on a gym wear that is this and this. Maybe you could do something with them. And, the lady reached out to me and they didn't tell me what it was because, of course, at the time they couldn't say. All she said was, it's a show, it's a dance thing. I need the stuff urgently. I'll even come and fetch it. I didn't even know. They didn't pay for that. I didn't even know whether they were telling the truth. In all honesty, I was just like, maybe it's just someone trying to get free tights. But I gave it to them. And I remember, like, just before Java launch, I think to myself, I was like, hey, guys, I think I actually got, like, ripped off or something. Someone came many moons ago, told me I was going to be in this dance something.
Thing.
I've never seen it. And then when Java launched, people started tagging me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is it. When I called the friend, by the way, that got me the hookup, he had even forgotten that that's what he did. And I called him to say thank you, to say, well, thank you for having that conversation and recommending me because I wasn't even there. He was like, oh, is that Java? Oh, wow. And so I guess keep talking about your brand. You'll never know who is saying what about it in what space. And sometimes it's not the person that you thought was going to sell it. Like we all have, friends, and you go, these 5 friends are like the first people who are going to buy my tights because we're so close. And then they're the ones who don't even bother. They just go, oh, you've launched a brand. Well done, friend. And don't take it to heart. Don't go, oh my gosh, then I think if they don't like it, then no one's going to like it. No. You'd find a random person that you haven't spoken to in years that's like, oh, I saw on your WhatsApp story that you're doing this. And, I've hooked you up. So just honestly, fetch every opportunity. People will say no, but somebody will say yes. And that one that does say yes, it just becomes the yes that you really, really needed.
Every time when you're speaking or when one of you is speaking and the rest of the room nods like yes. I love that because I saw, like, when you mentioned now that you never know who's going to be that person that puts you on. Everybody's like, you never know. It might not be who you expect.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Next question that we have says, have you collaborated with other brands in the industry? And what was your experience? Togo, I'll ask you this one.
Yes, we do collaborate with. We have collaborated with other brands. It's all about them having the same thought process, how they operate, are they ethical, Do they believe in the same philosophy? We possibly do. And so when you collaborate, it shouldn't look strange that you collaborate with brands. So we hair care, we may collaborate with skincare. And be very careful into who we collaborate with. I think one of the ones that stand out is Corium. We met up with Corium and we collaborated, and we had a very successful partnership there because we are almost in sync. We think the same way. We believe in the same ethical practices. So I think when you do want to collaborate with other brands, just look at your brand essence and look at their brand essence and understand where you have synergies. And so when you come together, it shouldn't look like a crazy collaboration, honestly. So yeah, I think that's the one that stands out in my mind. But we try and match up to people that are, or rather to brands that are quite similar to ours.
Definitely. I love what you said. It mustn't be like, huh?
Yeah.
Why are these two brands together? How do they fit together?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question that we have is, when did you decide it was time to grow and get a team? And what was the process behind choosing which positions to hire or ask to volunteer? Shoo, I think I'll just put it to the room. Who would like to take this on? Because I believe that you all have teams in some form and you probably all have great insights onto this one.
Everybody's laughing. I'll go. My team, my internal team that is so amazing is the production team. And initially we started off producing our product externally using third party. And by the time your product gets to the shelves, it started looking a little bit crazy. And that's because maybe third party doesn't pay attention particularly to the quality that you want. And so we brought the production in-house. And the team has been incredible. When I say those people create miracles, it's miracles. The production manager whips the staff and gets things done that seem so impossible. And I think that's one thing that's kept us going as Nilotiqa, is that I'm able to then go and run around and do other things when this team operates the way it does. Where we found challenges is maybe with what we outsource. So we don't keep our accounting or legal internal, we externalize that. But marketing has been quite difficult to manage in terms of different teams coming in and out, or different personalities coming in and out, and trying to relay the message the way you want it to be relayed. Has always been, I think, a difficulty for us. So yeah, we keep production internal and everything else we outsource.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that one?
Okay.
So I'll weigh in. So okay.
No, it's fine. You can go, Mathebe.
So I think for me, people has been the hardest, and because of my own toxicity, probably. So I come from an investment banking background, and it's a very fast-paced, A-type, high-performance environment. And I have friends who've left the same bank and who've started their own business, and they say the same thing, that they've taken that high performance, work till you're tired culture into their own businesses. And you take it into your own business, and that's how you want your business to perform. And finding people who aren't from an investment banking background or similar kind of environment, and kind of like getting them or training them to be that person, which is really unfair. But it is what it is. It's really difficult. And so just finding people with a solid work ethic is so important, because you've built this business, it's your baby. You don't want it to falter. And I truly believe that the one thing that can make a business fail is just people not working together and working hard together. So finding the right people is probably the hardest thing. And small businesses don't have access to recruitment agencies. I can't pay a recruitment agency some huge fee for finding someone for me. So I have to do it myself, and to sit and interview people, make sure their personality matches your business, that they'll fit into the culture, is so hard. And so, we have a very small team. but now we're starting to grow it. So, we need a customer service person, and it's just, you have to sit and interview people and work by referral. But, it's rather take your time to find the right people, and you'll kind of get it right. And just, I think it's the hardest thing to do in your business, but just take your time and make sure that you find the right people for your business that are the right fit, and people who can work together as well.
Absolutely. Jabulile, you wanted to weigh in as well?
Oh, sure, guys. In fact, as we're busy talking here, I actually wrote down, if there's anyone who's listening here who's in HR and they're thinking about starting their own business, an HR recruitment agency for small businesses, like, we need you. Because, to the lady's point, sometimes you bring someone in with the best intentions, but maybe because of your personality, that person performed well elsewhere and they're not performing here, whatever the case may be. So for me, what I've just kind of focused on is just saying contract-based employment. So I do like a 3-month just to see, and if we are getting along. And I always say it's not about maybe it's your fault or my fault. It's just, can we dance together? And if we can't, it's fine. And then also project-based hiring, because I tried that in the beginning where I was like from a big corporate and you're like, I need a brand manager, I need a what. And then the next thing you're like, okay, I've got all of these expenses. And actually sometimes I'm not getting the stuff out of the people that I need. So human resourcing is really, really, really a challenge. You really have to take the time. Be clear on what you're trying to achieve with your business. Be clear on yourself, like the things that are important to you, things that would say, okay, I'm good at this and I'm not good at that. Mathebe spoke about this is like I'm A-type. Just know yourself. And then when you know yourself, you can then also let the people know when they come in. You say, guys, this is the kind of personality I am. These are things that I expect. And then up front, if someone is like, oh, I don't want to work like this, or actually then I know. And if I'm pushing you too hard, these are the, things that you can use to be like, okay, now it's really too much, or whatever the case may be. So know yourself, know who you are as a leader, so that when you bring people in, you know how to kind of prepare them for you, because as a small business, a lot of what the culture is in the organization, it becomes a lot of you, because you are kind of the face of it. So yeah, just take your time and know you are going to kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. And allow yourself that grace, forgive yourself to say, I made that decision. I went into that. It didn't work out. Let it go and get a new person in.
Yeah.
Sure, so many insights on that one. That hiring, people management, that must definitely be one of the hardest things with running a business, especially as a small business. Mathebe, there's a question for you here. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to remove brands or products from Beauty on Tap? If so, how did you manage that? And what was the reason for letting them go?
I don't think we've had to. So, I mean, one of the blessings with Beauty on Tap is we at a marketplace level. So the only reason why I'd remove a brand is one, it's not selling at all. Or two, there's some kind of controversy, like there's an ethical issue or, formulation issues or something. But, we do such detailed due diligence on brands that, we work with the best brands. We check ingredients. Like, I am always just so amazed at how my team knows ingredients now. Like, they know exactly what each skincare ingredient does, hair care ingredient, because we look at things down to the T. So we really, really interrogate brands. So we hardly have situations where we're delisting brands. And now, like, every single brand sells. Like, we're always just so amazed at how within a basket, like, somebody will add something to their cart. Like, even if it's just one sale, if a brand gets one sale in the month, I'm always so happy and ecstatic for them. So we've literally reached marketplace status. I don't, foresee situations where we have to delist brands unless there's some kind of controversy. But I don't think we'll get to that just because of the due diligence that we do. I mean, if we had to have a situation where there is some kind of issue with the brand, just kind of, have a call with them, and just say, this is the situation and we're just not aligned with your brand. So we're going to start a delisting process. And I mean, our contract does make provisions for situations where we need to delist the brand.
Yeah, so get it in the contract from the beginning, understand how,
Yeah.
if it were to come, how will you go about it, and make sure the other party also is aware of that.
Yes.
The next question, I believe, would be for Jabu. How much does someone budget to protect their IP in the beginning? An estimate on legal fees, getting a patent, etc.
So I would say probably look at between a 5K and a 10K in the beginning, right? Don't find someone who's extremely expensive. So you're a small brand, approach your legal person and make sure that they specialize in IP as well. Don't just go to anyone. Make sure that this is what they specialize in. And then kind of say, okay, because they will open an account for you. They'll say, okay, fine, we're gonna take this on. Let's say it's 5K for now. These are the things that we need for the consultation time, for their time to draft all the contracts, for them to do the research, because they have to literally go search. You might have a brand, Siko Republik, and it's like, oh, actually that name is reserved. Or you might want to reserve this pattern, and then someone says, oh, actually you can't because of how similar or how closely it looks to this, and and all of that. So they will always give you whatever their budget is, but usually the kickoff is between 5 to 10K. I never had to go beyond that because I haven't had any issues in terms of someone using my pattern and things like that. But I know when that time comes, that does become costly to fight. But honestly, upfront, between 5,000 Rand, maximum 10, will get you your trademarks and things like that. And then also be clear on, sometimes we are serial entrepreneurs and you want to start this company and you start that one with your friend and you start that one with whoever. And then you've trademarked, Siko Republik on that company with your friend. And now you guys are no longer friends. And now you need to get, so just in the beginning, there's lots of things you need to think about, so I think, the conversation about partnerships into business is like a whole other topic, but just think about exactly the trademark. Where are you putting it under? So if it's your company, it's 100% owned, this is your idea, 100%, it's a very simple, straightforward process. But if you do have other people involved, say, let your trademark person know and let them help and protect you up front and say, what would happen if, let's say, me and Bilo decide 2 years from now that we don't want to do this anymore? Like, ask in the beginning, what does that then look like? How do we, do all of those things? So invest in it, invest in the beginning. Less than 10K will get you through, but ask the right questions. So it depends. If you are a sole shareholder, 100%, your process is different. If you have other people in, just be careful to say, okay, if I'm going to trademark here and the other two are like, okay, we no longer want this company, and now you want to start your own company and you have to move this trademark to your company, it's also different processes. So just ask as many questions as you can, and work out different scenarios. Like when you talk to your legal team, put all the different scenarios on the table. What is the worst that could happen, and how do I protect myself from it should it happen?
Definitely. Togo, I want to ask you this question. The question is, do you do your own branding or have you outsourced that?
We do our own branding, and we've always done our own branding. You might have teams that know a little bit better than you in terms of them having studied marketing and so on, to maybe design the brand Bible for you or to discuss the brand essence for you. But everything around branding is internal.
And the next question that we have is important tips to approach influencer marketing correctly. Jabu, because you did mention influencer marketing being a big part of your business, I'd like you to answer this one.
Okay. So firstly, it's almost like a collaboration. Togo said earlier, are you aligned? because yes, it is influencer marketing. As an example, I'll use Busiswa, who I love very much because she's a darling. She's an influencer, but is Busiswa an energetic person that talks Siko Republik? Because we're an active wear, we're about dancing, running, cycling, whatever the case may be. Is Busiswa aligned to Africa and our heritage and our culture? Outside of Siko Republik, is she wearing and supporting other brands? So if she is, exercising in Siko tights, does it feel off for her, or does it look like something that she would buy into? So those are all the things that you need to think about. It's not just about how many followers do they have. It is important, the same way you do a collaboration, how aligned are they to your brand, and how believable is it for Busiswa to be wearing Siko Republik? How believable is it for Siko Republik to be in, a Jiva series? Is it aligned to what the brand is? So influencer marketing, treat it the same way you would treat how you collaborate with anybody else, and know that, as earlier on, Mathebe also said something about whatever controversial thing comes up with them, that also translates to you. You know how Black Twitter can also get. They're like, oh yeah, and she was also wearing this. So
Yeah.
you have to be careful on how you choose. Don't just go at who has the highest followers and then just think them taking your product and then putting it on their page is just going to sell your product. Consumers are very aware now. They know when they are being sold to, and they can also see when something is genuine. They can tell when it's like, but that is a lie. They paid you lots of money to say, I love this. So just be very careful as to who you choose to represent your brand. And also, you don't always have to go with the big names, you can also use micro-influencers. Micro-influencers are actually more trustworthy. People who are just always, exercising at home or all about fitness, but just have 2,000 followers or 1,000 followers. So just be very clear on your influencer marketing strategy, like from a macro influencer, so the ones with the big followers, who do you want? From the micro influencers, the ones with smaller followers, who do you want? And what are you trying to achieve with the different influences that you have at your arsenal?
Yeah, I love that. Togo, I want to give you this next question. What has been the best and most accessible form of funding for you as a Black female entrepreneur?
What a horrible question. Funding is a pain. The story of funding in my life, I'll depress you all day. But
In
we
fact,
did funding.
Sorry, Togo.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying I started smiling because I was just like, she's going to tell us the funding secret.
Oh my gosh. When you guys find out, tell me too. So when we launched into retail, the first time we launched into Clicks, I think, we did need funding. I mean, it was a huge expansion and almost immediate expansion, and there was no way we were gonna be able to put product into retail at that scale when we're much smaller even than now. And so we approached SIFA, believe it or SIFA, and the process is difficult. After SIFA, we approached so many other funding houses, and the process is near impossible. So the first funding we got was from SIFA, and it was a short-term loan. So they give you money and they want it almost instantly. You get months to pay. And so obviously when we go into retail, whatever the plan was supposed to be, what didn't materialize the way it was supposed to be. And so we had to go back and renegotiate. And so in looking for funding, yes, you have to create models. Yes, you have to give your business plans. But I don't think those things are as impactful as we'd like them to be, right? In those spaces. You get a lot of bodies saying, we want women entrepreneurs coming through, give us your business plan, give us your marketing strategies, give us your financial projections. When you do that, you tend to get a negative response almost always. And so we've had rejections from everywhere, And so I don't think the South African funding space understands how a small business operates. And so there's a huge gap between how I present my brand, what the possibilities of this brand is, what the projections I envision are, and them coming back and saying, by the way, the natural hair community or the natural hair space was said to be too small for many retailers back in the day. And so now it's a totally different world. And now they're looking to us and they're saying, oh, guys, come through, approach us for funding. By this time, I'm exhausted. So with the first funding, with CFA, we had to go back and renegotiate in terms of paying back. So whatever had been planned didn't work out that way because retail doesn't work that way, or it wasn't built to accept Nilotiqa the way we launched at that time. And so all these learnings throughout the years have just shown a much more difficult process than what the funding houses would like it to be. Your answers have asked for us to come forward. Standard Bank funding division literally doesn't exist anymore. And so can you imagine the amount of effort put into the amount of information given to them, and at the end of the day, that funding house doesn't exist. So you have to keep going, but yeah, it's wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the answer we expected, but it's true. And I think it's important to know if you're going to be starting a business.
I think it's a huge topic. It's something that needs to be spoken about a lot more.
So we have about 5 minutes left, and I've been saving this question for last. This is for all of you. When you started your businesses, did you have an idea of how big it would get? And Balisa puts in brackets, please don't say they're not big. Your businesses are big. Did you have an idea? So we'll just go around the room to wrap up the day. Mathebe, please start us off.
I think if anyone starts a business, you envision it being super big. So, I mean, you have to like aspire and set yourself a really big but realistic goal. I didn't think Beauty on Tap would get to where it is this fast. And it was just pushed by the pandemic, which is just so bizarre. So, I mean, I want to grow more. We want to do international shipping, which is just so difficult. The internet has made business or, retail shopping like, so small, like you're competing with, retailers in the UK and the US and everywhere. And so we just have aspirations of, becoming Africa's beauty online store like Sephora is or like Cult is. So we want to be known as that African online store that retails beauty products. So there's a much bigger vision and a much bigger goal behind it. And hopefully that's within our reach. I mean, we reached the milestone we never thought we'd reach soon. So, dream big. Like when you start a business, just, put yourself out there, choose a number and go for it.
Jabulile, how about you?
So I would say, something similar, because of course when you start, like for me, I always laugh when I have to explain to my kids why I work this hard, and I tell them, we are building Nike in Wakanda. All right, we want this African gymwear brand that's going to be consumed globally, and I want them to take it over, and I want them to give it to their kids and their kids' kids. So the dream is big. But every time you blink, I mean, I think, about a few weeks ago, a friend of mine who said, oh, I just saw you at Jiva. And I said, yeah, I mean, we're 2 years in. So we, it's baby steps, we're doing what we can to push here and there. And she was like, baby steps, what are you talking about? So I guess, as what Palisa is saying, I'm trying to also get there, which is like, don't try and pretend like it's small. But to us, because you're like, you are so in the work all the time, you don't actually see like, what you have kind of built, because you're just in the detail every single day. But I didn't think it would get here so quick, and I'm very appreciative of the love and grace that the community have given us. Lots and lots and lots of grace.
Togo, how has your experience been?
Oh, I'm such a big dreamer. I'm a big dreamer, guys. But Jabulile is right in that you don't see it because you just hit down, hitting the road. You know, you're trying to build this thing. You're sustainably trying to build it, and you don't want that journey to end just yet until you see the full potential of what your business could possibly be. And these ladies are right in that you want global brands. We want global brands, global great brands. You're not just an African brand. You are a global brand with a quality brand that is consumable by the world, really.
Yeah.
And so as I build Nilotiqa, as I build Boxed, I have huge vision, but it's all about getting it done first before we get to the huge vision, I guess.
No, thank you so much, ladies, for your time. I learned so much. I learned so much. I can't believe it. And I believe that our audience, I've been watching all the comments, so many insights. Thank you so much for coming and sharing and for being so honest and open and raw about your experiences as well. I really do appreciate it. I believe that the audience also appreciates it. And thank you everyone that joined us today. This has been an amazing session. And it's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank